through every expense they have from one end to the other, right down to the copy machines that get the coloring who don't need it. And until that happens here, you haven't got the right to ask for more money, because the solution's in front of you. Clean house, get everything like a business would run it, and then see how if you even need to ask for a tax increase. Right now, you're killing us. You don't have that right. Thank you.
My name is Tim Joyce, a longtime resident of Spanish Fork. And aside from the egregious 27.6% increase for all I've heard so far is just for salaries. And I find that kind of insulting. But the thing I want to point out to you is this. I've heard it touched in here, but not completely. The problem we're seeing, local, county, and state government, and yes, the federal government, is government by the government, for the government, over the people. That's the problem. The government is no longer responsible to the people. You come up with these things because they sound good to you, because that's all the justification we get, is that we need to have it. We don't get any real reasons, then you levy increased taxes on us. We do not get those increases that you do. The phony national cost of living numbers are a joke. Go to the food store, sir. Find out what an increase is. But I'm retired. I'm on a fixed income too. But I'm really worried about government in this country, because it is government by the government, for the government, and not of the people.
Not for the people.
Michael Anderson, Provo. I'm sure the county has some great, good plans for the tax increase, some product, some service. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure the county expects it to be good and useful. But all of us here want to buy things that are good and useful too. Some of us might want a lawnmower or a dishwasher, whatever it may be. And when we want something good and useful, we wait, we save, we work within our budgets. And you can too.
Yeah.
My name is Bruce Smith. I moved here from Kentucky 2 years ago to Utah County. Welcome to Utah County. I work in the Alpine School District. It's an arm of public service. The waste that I see in that school system is obscene. Obscene. The waste at this level of government would be exponential. The money that you all seek is sitting right in front of you like a feast if you get the guts and the discipline and the shovel to find it. Don't pick the pockets of these people. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kerry Smith and Alpine. I'll try to skip over stuff that's already been covered. In reviewing your budget documents, it shows that the property taxes are increasing at a faster rate than the population is. And also, even though you don't say sales tax, you should be getting a windfall from online sales tax that's not even included in your budget. The law enforcement and public safety make up 57% of the budget, and 228 and 164 full-time equivalents respectively. The U.S. has the highest incarceration rate in the world, not by a little, by over 4 times than any country I could find. 655 people per 100,000 people. Canada has 114. England 146. Spain 133. The U.S. incarceration rate is way too high, and this affects all of us because everybody looks at your history so you can't get a job. And these are frivolous incarcerations many times. Public safety should protect me, my family, my property. Quit clogging the courts and the prisons with rolling stops, people who fall asleep, teenagers who unwisely assist in their friend's suicide, none of those people are a threat to me, my family, or my property. Does no good for us to pay to incarcerate them. If you were to reduce 57% of your budget to the same standard as the rest of the world, that would free up substantial amounts of your budget. Law enforcement went out there, your average officer makes just under $100,000 without overtime. You add another $60,000 for benefits. They get to retire after 20 years, at which time they start double dipping. They retire and go back to work. That is more than, I'll dare say, 90% of the people you're asking to pay for that make. It's already been talked about that you pay 100% of the premiums. I pay over $400 a month for my premiums. So, if we take proper steps to responsibly reduce expenses, now you've got OPEBs out there. Most organizations have cut retirement medical expenses already or sunset them. You need to address that. During the elections, when I talked with every candidate for the commission, they all said they thought they needed to raise taxes. When I asked why, they said, because it's the lowest in the state. Not one of them could tell me what it was needed for. Being the lowest rate in the state is a good thing, not a bad thing. We supposedly elect conservative platform Republicans to office in this county. Reduce your expenses, stop growing government, and do not raise taxes. Thank you.
My name's Kim Hool, and I live in London. I actually wrote to all the commissioners by email about a month ago, and I really appreciate that both of you responded and gave the information. Still, I don't get a lot of what the proposals are meant for as far as if there is a tax increase. I just can't fathom the differences between now versus a couple years ago because there's been so much exponential growth and the increase in taxes. I'll give you one example. My parents, I was doing their finances while they were out of the country in 16, and their property tax on one of the places that they were using for income went from $2,783 in 2015 to a total of $4,179. The reason was because they had a cell phone tower on it, and they were given no warning. They were out of the country, relying on their income, and they it ended up being, from a county perspective, a 62% increase just from the county for that 1 year, and it hasn't gone back down yet. And so I know there's lots of things like that that come up that I think can fund our extra county expenses if there are any, and I think that I'm in agreement with all the people here that have people on fixed incomes, but I wanted to bring up one additional area that maybe was barely mentioned, and that's I have young children who are buying homes here, and they barely can afford a home, obviously. Everybody knows how expensive homes are nowadays, but with their taxes, they have to pay on top of it. It makes it really difficult for people to have a stay-at-home parent to take care of children, which really affects our future. And so, I just ask that you've taken into account all the people here and maybe try to be more creative in the way that we budget and make that be something that can give us more relief rather than more burdens for our families. Thank you.
My name is Brigham Morgan. I live in Lehigh, had for about 12 years, and I've been in Eagle Mountain for about 10 years before that. I'd just like to say first, thank you for taking the time. I've sat in your chairs in some of these meetings on City Council and Planning Commission levels, and it's not always fun. So thank you for taking the time and spending this with us. I'm not on a fixed income. I'm one of those individuals that is working really hard to try and build my American dream now. So I want to share a few scenarios with you that I have seen actually happen that have affected me personally and that will affect pretty much anybody in the county. The first scenario is if we have our home prices constantly going up, our revenue should be constantly increasing. Our expenditures, unless we have large capital gains or capital projects or other things, should be fairly equal with the growth in the county. So it should match the income or the increase that comes in property taxes because our property values go up. If those property values go up, and they go up, and then we raise taxes on those property values that go up, and 5 years down the road, the market changes and those property values go down, we have just committed the county to numbers that the property cannot support. And now we've created budgets and expectations and service levels that in a downturn cannot be supported. So that's problem number one. The second problem is, if our property values keep going up and our taxes keep going up, then the demographics of those who are buying the houses and establishing the communities that we depend on changes. Suddenly we no longer have as many retirees. We no longer have a good mix of family lifestyles that allows for a congruous growth pattern through that community and a sustainable tax base. Now we become dependent on high wage earners, technology companies, or other big business that's going to come in and generate that revenue. And now we become very transient in our population base because if those jobs go away, so do the homeowners. So that's the second problem that we're creating. And that compounds if we now add a tax increase on it in addition to increasing property values. So we are compounding problems by trying to talk about a tax increase in a good and great economy because we are not planning for the inevitable change and crash in the economy. So I would encourage you, please, do not move forward with this tax increase until you know for certain where every penny has to go and that every penny is absolutely needed for when that economy changes. So that everybody who's in this room can continue to grow and support and supply the needs of this community with their children and their grandchildren for generations to come to have a well-balanced, long-term, sustainable community instead of creating the problems that we've seen in Silicon Valley and some of the other places where they have created these transient communities. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Thomas. I'm from Lehigh. Moved here actually at the beginning of this year. I noticed a lot of the people here represented are older generation on a fixed income, and I kind of wanted to give you a perspective from a younger generation of some of the challenges that creates. Certainly, when you're older and you're on a fixed income, that is very difficult. I can tell you from I'm 30. When you start out on a salary position, you don't make a lot of money. So you budget for your mortgage, you budget for insurance on your autos and homes, and you have your groceries and so on and so forth. And you're also supposed to save for retirement. That can certainly be difficult, when you don't make a lot of money. So, and I do want to thank you guys both for taking the time to hear us out. But, one thing I noticed when I, received this was there was no breakdown of how this was going to be used. I just bought a house in June, and, when I go to a bank, I have to show income. I have to show, you kind of have to justify what you're going to use the money for. And I thought that was kind of disturbing. So, listen, I understand. I've been in government. I understand the need for additional revenue, but I think, it'd be more well received if you guys would be a little bit more forthcoming with how you want to use the money, where the need is. Because if there's a need, that's understandable. But if, when you're asking for money, it's not justified. Obviously, there is a large group of people here from the older generation that have, lined out how it's going to affect them. And also, I'm 30. I've got 35 years to get to where they are, and if tax increases are going at this rate, what's it going to be when I'm their age? So I appreciate your time. Thank you for hearing me.
Wade Leininger from Springville. I just want to make 3 brief points. First of all, you have a certain size of pie that you get to take from. you're asking to increase the percentage of that piece of pie that you want. That pie increases, don't increase the percentage on that pie. The county assessor has been relatively aggressive at going out and increasing property values. I know that because I've appealed my property tax every year for the last 4 years. They want more and more and more of that pie now. Secondly, there are large corporations, Costco, Facebook, IHC. Do they need tax incentives to do what they're going to do anyway? Why are we giving them tax incentives when you've got retired people here? They're living on fixed incomes, and we're giving it to Costco's, to Facebook? Really? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why pick on the little guy because they don't stand up? I've not heard one person here tonight, maybe someone will break the trend, that spoke positively of this proposal. It should be denied.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Cecilia Plummer, and I'm a little bit different than most of you guys here. I moved to Utah from Peru, South America, about 30 years ago. And the reason I left is because something similar to this. There's chaos there, and unfortunately it has gotten a little bit better, but I go back every year, and I'm reminded every year why I chose to come to the United States. I've been here in Utah for about 20 years. I am a mover and a shaker. In my neighborhood, when I got this little postcard, I was I think the only one in my neighborhood that took the time to call, and I talked to Commissioner Bill's assistant. I think his name it's been a couple of Bruce or Brian. He was very kind, but it took me 3 days to get through the phone. I don't know what type of business we're running here, but you guys work for us. And when you cannot answer a very genuine question, I mean, all these people are wondering, where is this money going to? I graduated from 2 universities in the state. I lived in Europe for a couple of years. Germany, France, it was chaotic, and this was 30 years ago when I decided to come here. I'm very grateful to be in this country. Utah is still a wonderful place to live, and we want to keep it that way. We don't want to change it. So after this postcard arrived, after those 3 days, he was very kind to call me back. He spent 30 minutes with me on the phone. I couldn't believe it. I run a small business in Orem. I live in the city of Orem. And believe me, I agree with the people preceded me that talked about all these fancy buildings, these fitness centers and all that. I come from a family of 7 children. We believe in you do with what you have. You have to clean house first. And after I talked to your assistant, I had to post on social media what was this all about. And I live in a neighborhood, I live in Northeast Orem, with people that are really well educated. And they were concerned. There was nothing online that they could read about. We had no information where all this money is going to. And they were all coming to me for answers. And I'm like, all I know is that you need to be there. I hope, and this takes me to my next question. After you finish listening to us, I would like to know, if you wouldn't mind, to address to us what the process is going to be after this. Is there going to be a vote? I mean, how does this work? Because we need to know. There's a lot of people that showed up. I am so proud of everybody that's here tonight. There's people in my neighborhood, in my ward and state, that I posted this so many times in the last 3 days. And I hope some of them are here. But we need to be heard. That's why I came to this country. And believe me, this country has given me so much, but I've worked so hard for it. Every single dollar that I earn, I work incessantly 24 hours. I run a little group home for 3 disabled individuals, and they're my life, they're my other 3 children in the city of Orem. And I'm very thankful for the city, for how they've worked with me. But believe me, every penny that I earn, I work hard for it. And these people, I'm not retired yet, but I will be in about 10 years. And I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that this country has been so wonderful to me, and the people in Utah County, that's why I decided to move here, is because we're still better. I used to live in South Jordan, Salt Lake County. I moved here about 17 years ago. I used to be a real estate agent. I just retired about 3 years ago. I know about property taxes. I know where they go. I know how they've increased. When I moved here, the same house that and a very similar house that I bought in South Jordan, I bought in Orem, the difference in property taxes 17 years ago was $350 a year. That was the difference. And I know there's still a difference in price. We're still a little cheaper. But why do we want to make it more expensive? Especially when we don't know where things are going. So if you wouldn't mind addressing to us at the end, what's going to happen after this? Because I think we deserve to know. Thank you.
Cecilia, I want you to call me.
Well, my name's Ron Peck. I'm from the Lehigh Highland area. I grew up here, so I've seen the growth. And I'm a businessman, so I'm not worried about the older people that are kind of tired with income. But I know that as a county, we need to have growth. I'm not disagreeing with you there. But I think from property tax, what I see is every business, every subdivision, every home that's built, your property tax goes up because you're getting income from a lot more people. If you have a farm, they're paying greenbelt, you're getting no property tax hardly. But once it's sold and developed, that increases your income, and I think that's plenty to leave what's there the same price. And with the new businesses, the new subdivisions, the new homes, the building development, that's going to increase your income substantially. And I think that's fair. I leave that with you. Thank you.
My name's Wood Barker, and I'm from Lehigh. I know that personally, my property taxes have increased 21% this last year in the valuation. The valuation has gone up more than that prior to this, regular. So you should be flush with money. With all of this extra valuation, trying to understand how you could need more unless, are you expecting the bubble to burst? Do you guys know something that we don't know? And are you pushing this bubble when you do this kind of assessing where you keep pushing it up and pushing it up? Do you push a bubble? I know that I sent a copy of Prop 13 from California to every one of you. And I hope that you had an opportunity to look at it. I think it's time that we lock in something that gives us some protection, even from the state. I'm hoping for elected leaders to protect us from even the auditor. If you have a disagreement with auditor, good luck. They think they're next to God in their ability to assess a value. And you're going to have a really hard time disputing that because you have to spend a lot of money to hire an attorney or get an evaluation. They will not listen to a home.
Vicki Stoltz from Palmyra. I want to thank you for coming. Obviously, the others couldn't take the heat, so I commend you for coming. This gentleman over here in the red tie who's on his phone is obviously too busy and is concerned with other things. If you were here for property tax, will you please clap? Okay, so I'm 60 years old, and we own a very small business in Springville. And when they put the rec center in, the property taxes on our little business there went to the sky. And our little business is in a rundown old garage gas station. We have for many years wanted to develop that into something nicer. But the property taxes are so high that we just cannot afford it. At the age of 60, my husband had to send me back to work just so we could have health insurance. I want to ask you, how many of you had to send your wife back to work at the age of 60 so that you could have health insurance? Health insurance for a small business is as much as a home payment. And you want to raise those taxes again? I drive by a home that is huge. It has a really nice RV. It has a boat. It has a trailer. It has several trailers. It has the works. And I said, what do these people do to get at something like this? Oh, I understand that guy works for Provo City. A dear friend of mine that I grew up with was over the water department. He has since passed. He lived in a gorgeous home with a high lifestyle. I know he did not get that from his parents through any inheritance. His father died after he did, and he was a very humble man who struggled, just like the rest of us, to make it from month to month on a fixed income. I know that money had to come from his position here in Provo. And you can honestly say that the struggling people of this county deserves a high tax rate on their properties. The only little piece of thing that they really own. Do you think a lot of these people in this room have huge homes with boats and trailers and such? How could you even dare think of that? When we struggle and we work hard, we work very, very hard. I raised my kids alone while my husband was out building our small business. He worked 18 to 20 hours a day just to make it work because property taxes kept going up. So it keeps going up. It's a little here and a little there, just like it's been mentioned before. Well, that pie soon is all gone. And there is nothing